We all remember the days of high school, learning about useful things like chemistry, physics, and PE.
You can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
And how could we forget everyone's favorite class, personal finance? You know, the one that literally every person would actually use? Well, that is if personal finance was actually a class, but it's not. School may have prepared you for many things, but sadly, finances, specifically budgeting, isn't one of them. And you can tell by taking a look at the average American's finances. The average American has over $5,700 in credit card debt.
When they call, I tell them I can't pay it back yet. Credit card debt.
An average car payment of $516 a month, which is equal to nearly 20% of their average income. They also average $5,300 in savings, but that's not even the full story because in 2020, the Fed reported that only 64% of Americans had enough money on hand to cover a $400 emergency.
We need to rob a bank.
What?
And the average American has only a little over $27,000 saved for retirement. So how in the world does anyone expect to retire off of $27,000?
Spare change. Spare change, ma'am.
Maybe now you see why a personal finance class could have come in handy. But then again, maybe they do that on purpose to keep us all poor.
Exactly. There's a conspiracy here.
So, if you don't want to end up like the average American, do something your teachers never taught you and learn how to budget. Think of budgeting like a financial roadmap. It's a plan that helps you allocate your money wisely, ensuring that you're not overspending and you have enough left over to help you reach your goals and, of course, for emergencies.
I'm in danger.
The first step of budgeting is thinking about what you want your finances to look like so that you can develop a strategy behind where you allocate your money. I'll start off by telling you, I don't track every single dollar like some people suggest. If you want to go hardcore with your budget, then by all means, have at it. I take a more simple and generalized approach to my budgeting. And personally, I use the 70-10-10-10 method. I'll break it down for you. So, 70% of my income is used for expenses, like my utilities, house payment, groceries, which are somehow more than my freaking mortgages lately, and even entertainment. The next 10% is for generosity. I love to give to my church and other causes, like fighting human trafficking in my area. For you, that might look like giving to a local food bank, sponsoring a youth sports team, or helping those in need through a local charity. But I'm telling you that if you start dedicating a portion of your budget to generosity, you'll feel a massive sense of fulfillment and purpose and true happiness. Nothing teaches character better than actually being generous. Now the next 10% is where it starts to get a little spicy.
Yes, spicy.
The next 10 I put towards active capital. Active capital is money that you can use for things like starting a business or a side hustle or even real estate investing. Basically anything where you try to actively make a profit. A job will make you a living, but profits will make you a fortune. I own a mortgage brokerage, and so I have seen a lot of people's income. And you want to know who makes the most amount of money? It's not who you think. It's actually the business owners. And the last 10% I allocate towards passive capital. Now, passive capital is money that you let someone else use to try and make a profit, but then they pay you for the use of those funds called interest. This could be stocks and bonds, mutual funds, index funds, whatever. An easy way to become wealthy is by using compound interest. Over time, as long as you are committed to setting aside money for passive capital and you have the power of compound interest work in your favor, you will become wealthy. Now that is how I allocate my money because working on businesses, investing, and generosity are all important to me. So I design my budget accordingly. You can design your budget to help you get to where you want to be, but if you're unsure of where to start, use the 70-10-10-10 method and you'll be way ahead of most people. Now that you've designed your own budget, the next step is to track your income. There are lots of ways to do this, but how I do it is actually through my bank. I use a bank called One Finance. Please sponsor me. And it has pockets where you can automatically distribute your income as you get paid. So you can make a pocket for active capital, passive capital, giving, emergency fund, and expenses. This keeps my finances organized and helps me track my income. If your bank doesn't have pockets or something similar, you can always go old school and open up an entirely new checking or savings account and set aside for your specific budget. Some employers will even let you get paid into multiple accounts via ACH. So you could also get better organized that way, or you could use one of the many financial apps that are dedicated to helping you budget, like Mint or You Need a Budget. Next up is the tough part. You want to take a look at your expenses and see what you normally spend on things, because I realize it's really easy for me to just sit here and suggest, oh yeah, just spend 70% of what you're currently making. The hard truth is that if you want to be financially independent, you'll need to make some sacrifices unless you're already wealthy. That means that you may have to part with that hot goat yoga class. If you went with the 70-10-10-10 budget, then you would want to take a look at your net income and multiply it by 70% to figure out how much you have to live on. So if you make a net income of $4,000 a month, we would multiply that by 70%, which leaves us with $2,800 set aside for our expenses. Then you would go see how much you have been spending on average over the last few months and figure out where you need to adjust to make sure that you aren't spending more than the 70% of your income.
Sides. Tell them about the sides you ordered.
the sides, so...
Sides?
Yeah.
Sides? $26,000 worth of sides?
You can do this by reviewing your bank statements and credit card statements, or however you spend your cash. However, before I would start investing, I also want to mention that I would set aside at least 3 months of expenses in an emergency fund first. An emergency fund will give you a safety net during unexpected events like medical expenses, or you lose your job, or you wreck your toilet again because you're on your 6th quesarito on a Sunday night T-bell bender.
Oh, hot, 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 hot. Hot, 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 hot.
Once you have the emergency fund built up, you'll notice a weight being lifted off your shoulders. And you know that if something happens, that you have that cushion to rely on. The other really important thing here is the order in which these things happen. Most people spend first, then invest the rest. I don't recommend this because what will end up happening is you probably won't end up investing much at all. Invest in your selected budget pockets first, and then spend the rest. This will ensure that you hit your financial goals and set you up for success long term. And remember, your budget isn't set in stone, so as life changes, so should your budget. As you start budgeting, you'll notice something incredible: a sense of control over your finances and less financial stress. Instead, you'll have a clear path towards your financial goals. Remember, it's never too late to start managing your money wisely, so take control of your financial future and watch how it transforms your life. So remember, figure out how you want your finances to look in the future and then design your budget to help you meet those goals. Then track your income, set up any automations so that you invest in your goals first, and then your expenses. Then take your expenses and get them to fit into your desired expense bucket of your finances by reviewing what you have been spending over the last few months. Then adjust your budget as your life changes. This stuff isn't rocket science. Why do they not teach this? If you made it this far, be sure to check out my other videos where my goal is to help you level up your finances.